The topic that I chose to do my screencast on was the global digital divide and the impact that the COVID-19 lockdown has had. Through my screencast, I was able to express the disparities that many countries have experienced and are still experiencing, along with highlighting the advantages that other countries are undergoing. I will disseminate my screencast through the use of YouTube, so there is a need to ensure that social semiotics will make meaning, I intend, and communicate globally. Social semiotics is the theory of communication and is a way of understanding the many different elements of communication. Semiotics relate to making meaning. Therefore, in everything an individual uses to make meaning is a semiotic resource. Multimodal is understood as how I convey communication and can be the way I communicate beyond the use of speech and writing. I use a number of textual, visual, and oral modes of communication. The modal affordances, such as the layout, images, colors, and fonts, are all considered different modes, and I had to consider when I was making my screencast. I made sure to use a variety of different layouts of my text to keep the audiences interested throughout the screencast, and I would time different images to appear to emphasize what I was saying. This can be seen in my screencast when I used the pictures of a boy who does not understand books and a man who does not understand computers in order to define literacy. The use of color and fonts are important in my screencast to encourage effective communication. I made sure to keep my background beige, as it is a color that many find easier to read off. I also use blue images at the end to connotate the unfair and sad emotions, so the audiences are influenced on how to feel. As my screencast uses formal and academic language, I have used casual font in order to make it more conversational feel to the audiences. I use a mixture of text throughout my screencast. I use written text as well as different images and GIFs. Through using written text, I have made sure to keep it to the minimum, and I only wanted to use it when I wanted to convey the importance of what I was saying, as well as keeping the audience engaged. The use of academic language can create a barrier to the audience trying to access my screencast, due to how frequently I read and write academic language. Trying to restrict that and keeping my screencast accessible was a challenge. I chose to overcome this by keeping a conversational tone as well as placing a complex language on the screen so that audiences could read it for themselves. Social semiotics and multimodality are formed by different societies and cultures, and therefore I needed to take that into account when I made my screencast. This can be seen when I talk about schools. Throughout my screencast, I use a variety of different classroom and school images in order to relate to the majority of audiences and to ensure that I can use the image to convey the meaning of school and education to my audience. In reflection, the use of Powtoon, which is the software I use to create my screencast, was very accommodating through the opportunity to many different text, images, and other visual effects. There were difficulties with Powtoon. With certain features, I found it restricted the social semiotics and multimodality used within my screencast. The use of my voice to make meaning through rhythm, pace, intonation of my voice are all important when conveying complex information. I had to think about the intonations of my voice as I was talking academic language. Therefore, to ensure that the audience stays engaged and feels involved, I need to use my language to portray that. I found Powtoon restrictive due to the need to record my script in one go. This meant despite many attempts and takes, it was difficult to get it perfect. There are a couple of times that I stutter over my words, which impacts the pace and rhythm of my voice and may disrupt the meaning that I'm trying to communicate. If I was able to record slide by slide, this would enhance the effectiveness of my Powtoon as a software for my screencast. Throughout my screencast, I have used spoken, written, and visual modes of communication. These represent learning. They show to the audience what I know and have learned, as well as educating them. The different social semiotics and sign making I have used all make knowledge. Being aware of my own social cultural identity was essential. I need to understand the use of different texts, and my own screencast will have social effects. Despite not being able to see my face, my audience are able to ascertain certain elements about my identity as a young, middle-class female, but other elements remain hidden, such as my ethnicity and my disability. I make sure to refer to both sides of the digital divide, allowing the audience to understand the differences in my identity, as no one would have experienced the same thing during the COVID-19 lockdown. I, as the narrator of my screencast, have a sense of power over the audience, and this affects the information I give and the way in which I communicate it to my audience.